I never thought that through a telescope. I would witness my beloved wife Sophia being intimate with another man in her office. At that moment, my world collapsed completely. How should I face this sudden betrayal? I decided to expose it all. But in revealing the truth, I was also revealing my own vulnerability. Before things fell apart, my life was simple. Some might say boring. I had a routine that felt secure and comfortable, with predictable days of work, home and occasional outings. Alex and I had been together for years. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was familiar. We had our ups and downs, but we always found our way back to each other. I remember when the changes started creeping in slowly like a fog. I began feeling restless, questioning if this was all I've had to offer. The spark in our marriage faded and I noticed things I hadn't before. Alex seemed distant, buried in work, and I felt more like a roommate than a wife. That emptiness began to gnaw at me. People often think my job is dull. As a CPA leading an audit team, I spend my days analyzing the finances of businesses and individuals. When the IRS investigates, we dive into their books, sometimes for weeks. While the work is usually straightforward, today's surprise wasn't from the audit, but from what I saw outside the window. For the past 3 weeks, my team and I have been auditing Landmass Development Group, which is under investigation for contract mismanagement and fraudulent invoicing. This is the second time the state has accused them, and I'm not sure we can save them this time. My team consists of 3 expert computer analysts, Regine and Jackie, who can find anything in the data. We also have 2 relentless accountants, Adriana and Mandy, who are thorough and won't tolerate any dishonesty. My job is to manage the client relationship and compile the final audit report. Landmass provided us with lavish offices complete with city views and all the equipment we needed. My office at one end of the 21st floor belongs to a managing partner on leave. It's a grand over-the-top space filled with dark wood, antique furniture, and even a stuffed marlin. It gave me a sense of how Landmass spent their money. During the break, I found myself staring out the window at the office building across the street which houses Enterprise Research and Development, where my wife Sophia works. I couldn't see into the offices from my desk, but I knew Sophia's was on the 20th floor. I eventually spotted her windows but couldn't make out anything inside. That's when I noticed the giant brass telescope in the office. After adjusting it, I focused on Sophia's office. I could see her clearly now working at her desk. My mind wandered and I thought of Thea at home smiling down at me and then removing the black silk nagel. I bought her in Paris. My phone rang, pulling me back to the Landmass audit. Hello. I answered. Hey, boss. Mandy said, want to join us for lunch. Red found a little cafe nearby. That might become our favorite spot. Interested? Thanks, Mandy. But I've got calls to make. Could you bring me a tuna salad, sandwich, and a soda? Maybe tomorrow. Sure. Just remember to take breaks and go home at a reasonable time. Will do. Thanks, Mandy. After hanging up, I returned to the telescope. This time I saw Sophia wasn't alone. A man from her Christmas party. Barrett was leaning against her desk. I didn't like how much time he spent with her, but she brushed it off, saying he was a boss she had to impress to advance. I didn't think much of it until now. I watched as they talked seemingly about work, but then he shut her office door and pulled a chair close to her. Sophia put her feet in stockings on his knees and he started massaging them. My heart raced. I thought I was the only one who did that for her. He continued moving his hands up her legs. Cherry's head leaned back in pleasure and he massaged her calves, even spreading her knees apart. What's going on? I muttered. Sophia seemed to enjoy every bit of it. Suddenly she jumped, said something to him, but he kept going. My heart pounded as I paced the room. I finally grabbed my phone and dialed her office. Sophia answered sweetly, as if nothing was happening. I just wanted to tell you, I love you. I struggled to speak, my voice wavering. That's so sweet. I love you too. Sophia replied warmly. Yeah. I was just thinking about you and can't wait to see you tonight. I added, trying to keep the conversation light. I can't wait either. But I'm a little busy now. Can I call you after lunch? She asked, her tone shifting to one of distraction. Sure. Enjoy yourself, bye. I forced myself to hang up, then watched as Sophia flipped off her phone, while also flipping me off in her actions. She leaned back in her chair, climaxing in the arms of another man. All I watched helplessly from across the street. My world shattered. The last thing I saw was Sophia straightening her skirt and kissing him. I must have collapsed, because when I opened my eyes, Mandy was beside me, her face filled with concern. "Boss, what happened?" "Adriana's calling emergency," Mandy said, her voice urgent. "I don't know. I think I passed out. I'm out at still and at DAZ. Just relax. The paramedics are on their way." Mandy reassured me, holding my hand. I closed my eyes, haunted by Cherry's betrayal, and began to cry. Mandy stayed with me, offering silent comfort, but the tears wouldn't stop. Later I heard voices as paramedics arrived. They checked my vitals, placed an oxygen mask on me, and began their procedures. "Hello, Mr. Hughes. Can you tell me what happened?" One of the firemen asked, his voice steady and professional. "I was just looking out the window and everything went black," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. "Have you been under stress? Your blood pressure is very high." The fireman noted. "Well, yes, no," I stammered, unsure of how to respond. "How do you feel now?" he pressed. "I'm okay," I lied. "I guess I should have started that blood pressure medication." "Sir, can you sit up? I'll take your pressure again." He helped me to the couch and took another reading. It was still high, but better, I insisted. I didn't want to go to the hospital. "Do you think you'll be okay now?" the fireman asked, his tone cautious. "I'll be fine. I'll call my doctor. Thanks for helping," I said, trying to sound convincing. After they left, I slumped on the couch, with Mandy still holding my hand. I forced a smile. "Are you going to be okay?" Mandy asked softly, concern etched in her features. "I don't know. I think I'll take the rest of the day off," I replied, feeling utterly drained. "I don't think so," Adriana interjected firmly from her position by the window. "You're not going anywhere until you tell us the truth. We're your friends." "Alex." Now Spillian and Jackie gathered around, all looking concerned. "Nothing happened. I just passed out," I insisted, weakly. "Nonsense," Adriana shot back, pointing at the telescope by the window. "What did you see?" All the sadness and panic came rushing back, and I started to hyperventilate. "Alex, relax," Mandy whispered, trying to soothe me. "Whatever it is, we're here for you." "No, it won't be all right," I mumbled, my body trembling. Adriana joined Mandy on the couch, her arm around my shoulders, trying to comfort me. "Red, get some ice and water." Yin put the in conference sign on the door. "Jackie, get some chairs. We're having a team meeting," Adriana instructed, taking control of the situation soon. We sat in a circle. Mandy and Adriana kept their arms around me. As Mandy gave me ice water, Adriana gently turned my head to face her. "Okay, Alex, no more BS. What did you see?" I told them everything, leaving nothing out. At the end, I was too exhausted to cry, just staring at my hands, thinking about my ruined life. "What do you want to do, Alex?" Adriana asked softly. I loved Sophia deeply and didn't want to lose her, but what I saw through that telescope changed everything. I needed to know the truth about our marriage. "Guys, I have a problem, but I don't want you involved," I said. "But Alex," Jackie interrupted, looking me in the eyes. "We were teaming. More than that, We're friends. We'll help you through this, short of liquidation, that is," Mandy added. "She's right, Alex. You might feel like you want to die, but as long as you have friends, there's hope. We'll be by your side. Just lead us, like you always do." Silence filled the room, as I thought I needed to know the truth. Everything Sophia was hiding. Only then could I decide what to do. "I need to know." I finally said everything. How long? How many times, and why did she do this? Is it something wrong with me? "Don't blame yourself. Adriana said you've always been a gentleman and a friend. We'll get to the bottom of this, and no matter what, we'll be here for you guys. We need a plan," Mandy said. Yin and Jackie focus on what's happening at her work. Adriana and I will handle the personal stuff. Let's regroup at 400. Alex, go lie down in my office. Stay away from that telescope. You've seen enough. I lay down on Mandy's couch, but all I could think about was Sophia. With that man. The image of her flipping off the phone in me burned in my mind. At 400, Yin popped in and told me the team was meeting at my office. I've always liked Yin quiet but wise beyond her years. She took my hand and walked me down the hall back in our seats. Adriana led the meeting, taking notes as we planned to uncover Sophia's secrets. It felt strange to be plotting this, but I didn't say anything. I mostly listened while the team discussed the plan. When it was done, everyone went off to their tasks. Like on any audit, my job was to pretend to work and hand over my credit card for supplies. Alex, can you go home tonight? Mandy asked. I don't think I can face her. I muttered, I'll stay here until she's asleep. Then sneaking. I don't trust myself not to say something I'll regret. Could you take a business trip? She suggested. Maybe I need to think of an excuse to avoid her this weekend. If you need a place to stay, you can use our guest room, she offered. I stared through the telescope at Sophia's empty office, replaying the painful images in my mind. I left the office after 9 and drove home late, relieved that Sophia was already asleep. I quietly got my clothes ready for the next day and showered without waking her. Then I slept in the guest room. I left before dawn, unable to face her, and arrived at the landmass office before anyone else. I made coffee but avoided the telescope. By 9, I checked in on Yin, who was busy at her computer. She smiled at me but didn't say much. Around 1000, Red arrived with boxes of equipment. He silently set up a new high-tech telescope that connected to a computer monitor, allowing me to read Sophia's emails clearly as he worked. Red explained that soon, thanks to Yin's hacking skills, we have full access to Sophia's work network, allowing us to monitor everything without needing the telescope. Red also set up a 60-inch monitor and left a big red button on my desk. Press it, he said. When I did, all the screens switched to fake audit data, disguising our activities from anyone who might walk in satisfied. He left just before lunch. Adriana and Mandy arrived and took over the telescope computer. They focused on Sophia's office, where an older man with white hair entered. I watched, dreading that he might be there for the same reason as the man before. Mandy looked at me with concern. Alex, maybe you should go to my office for a while. You might not want to watch things happen like yesterday. I don't want your blood pressure spiking again. I didn't say anything. Just got up and left. An hour later, Mandy joined me at her computer while I was playing blackjack. She put her arms around me and rested her head on my shoulder. Mandy, I both don't want to know and need to know. Did anything happen? She nodded and my heart sank. When I asked quietly, she hesitated before saying softly, BJ. It felt like a hammer hit my chest. One word and I was a mess again. Alex, we recorded everything, Red. Set it up, in case you need it later. Maybe for a lawyer. But I suggest you don't watch. It'll just hurt more. Let's get you something to drink. Mandy guided me back to my office, which now resembled a war room with screens showing various views of the building across the street. Yin explained that's a display of the security cameras on the 20th through 24th. We can see almost everything except the bathrooms and some manager offices. We can control the cameras and record whatever we need. Red then called me over. You're watching your wife on her computer. We can see everything she does right now. She's working on an email. No big deal. But I'm downloading all her emails from the past 5 years. Her schedule is synced with her phone, so I copied that too. The security is terrible. I sat down at my desk feeling overwhelmed by everything that had happened. Then my phone rang quiet. Everyone. Red instructed the room. Go on, in the third spine. Boss. I answered the call, trying to steady my voice. Hello. Hi, honey. It's me. Sophia's voice came through. I quickly glanced at the monitor, seeing her sitting alone at her desk. Hey, what's up? I asked, attempting to sound casual. You worked late last night and I missed cuddling with you. Sophia said with a hint of longing. Are you going to be late again tonight? I couldn't face the truth. So I lied. Probably this audit is toughened. I might have to help my dad with his plumbing this weekend. Sorry. Oh, I was hoping for someone on one time. Sophia. Sighing. I bought a new outfit and I wanted you to be the first to see it. Maybe next weekend. Sounds nice. Let on. Plan something special. Then I replied, trying to sound enthusiastic despite the heaviness in my chest. Okay. Love you, bye, Sophia said, her voice softening. I couldn't bring myself to say love you back. I watched her hang up, noticing that this time she didn't flip off the phone. It struck me that it was because she wasn't with anyone else during the call. Just then Jackie burst into the room looking triumphant. Someone bring up the second camera partition, she exclaimed, tossing me my keys. I just finished wiring your house for pictures and sound. We can now monitor everything that happens there. Yeah. Nate, I replied. Sadly, I'm able to share in her enthusiasm. Everyone spent the day working at their computers, likely splitting their time between monitoring Sophia and the audit. I hoped they were still focusing on the audit. One by one, they said goodnight and left. Mandy was the last to go. Alex, you should go out and eat, she said, standing in front of my desk. Don't drink too much, but do something to take your mind off things. Maybe see a movie. Tomorrow's Friday. I'll be in early to finish my part of the audit. Get away this weekend and think about what you want to do. We'll talk Monday. Remember, you're not alone. You have friends. Good night. After she left, I thought through my options, even writing down possible solutions with their pros and cons. But the emotional weight was too much. In the end, I left the paper on the desk and went home at midnight. I took him's advice and went out for dinner, but I couldn't eat much of the steak I ordered. When I got home, Sophia was asleep again. I quietly packed clothes for the weekend, showered and slept in the guest room. I left before she woke up, avoiding her as best I could at the office. I watched Sophia arrive through the telescope. She had her usual coffee and bagel and reviewed her schedule. At noon I noticed the words all for marked on her calendar, and dread filled me. Given her recent lunchtime activities, I knew this couldn't be good. Despite my team's concerns, I decided to watch whatever happened today. I gathered them for a quick meeting. I can't take this much longer. I said I'm going to watch today alone if possible, but someone should be nearby in case I don't handle it well this weekend. I'll figure out what to do and I may need your help. But if things get bad, I want you far away from the fallout. No discussion on that. Also, we need the audit done by next Friday and all this equipment gone. Everyone returned to their desks and I monitored the situation. As noon approached, I grew more anxious. At 11:30, Sophia disappeared from view. Alex, I'm here to babysit, Mandy said, locking the door. Everyone wanted to, but I insisted. We all here for you. Her words gave me some comfort. A few minutes later, Sophia reappeared on the screen, now wearing the little black dress she described on the phone. It was stunning, but not something I'd want her to wear in public. She looked incredible, but I knew she wasn't dressing up for me. She was doing it for someone else. Mandy took my hand and I felt her trembling as we watched Sophia prepare. She was waiting in for someone and soon the first man arrived. The same one from before. They kissed passionately. Then another man entered, followed by a third and finally a fourth. Now I understood what offer meant. I watched in disbelief as Sophia kissed each man in turn. They stood around her, laughing and talking with Sophia at the center, clearly enjoying the attention. Mandy whispered that one of the men was the same as the day before, and the words she used burned in my mind. We continued to watch as Sophia reveled in the moment with her co-workers, while my heart shattered. The full men sat down, on the couch into an office chairs, facing Cheryl. We stood by the window. She started dancing, swaying to music I couldn't hear. I'd seen her dance solo before, just for me, but now it was different. She danced around the room, brushing her fingers across the men's shoulders, and instead of excitement, all I felt was dread. Back in the corner, Sophia undid her halter top, letting the dress fall to the floor. Smiling, she moved them over through the men who reached out to touch her. Each time they did, I flinched. Mandy gripped my hand tightly as Sophia stood in the middle, smiling and touching her own body, clearly enjoying the attention. It crushed me. Then they started having sex. I couldn't take it. Mandy whispered it'll be over soon, while comforting me. When I looked back, I saw Sophia, with each man in turn. Mandy held me crying for me as I watched. Afterward, Sophia picked up her dress, wiped herself down with a towel and changed into her usual business attire as if nothing happened. But everything had changed. Our marriage was over though my heart raced. I remained surprisingly calm. Mandy's soft sobs brought me back to the moment it's all over. Mandy, I said quietly. She asked me how I was doing. Not great, but better than the other day. I'm numb. I admitted this weekend will be rough. What can I do to help? She asked, her concern evident. I'm not going home, I replied, making a decision. I'll go to my dad's. Hyun's always been rational. Maybe he can help me make sense of all this. We're here for you. Just ask. She offered thanks. Mandy. And thank everyone else for me, I said, appreciating the support. Mandy nodded and left the room. A short while later, Red came in and quietly started working at the computer. About half an hour passed before four pictures appeared on a large screen, accompanied by an organizational chart of Sophia's companies. Are the four guys, Red said, breaking the silence. They're all her immediate supervisors, 2 levels below top management. I've got their personnel files and we'll add more details soon. It'll all be on your computer. I didn't respond. I just stared at the faces of the men who had my wife. I couldn't blame them. Any man would want Sophia, anyone but me. That is, I wasn't in my right mind anymore. Adriana was the last to leave, stopping by to check on me and wishing me well for the weekend. Once alone, the pain hit hard. Tears fell onto my desk. I knew I had to get away. I watched Sophia packing up her dress, then called home, leaving a message that I was going to my dad's. I called my dad next and he said something was wrong, telling me to come. 15 minutes later I was on the road by Monday morning. I returned to the office with more energy and clarity than I'd had in days. My dad helped me navigate my thoughts and I finally knew what I needed to do now. I just needed my team to make it happen. Jackie approached me as I made coffee, her eyes full of concern. Yo, boss, she asked. I'm okay. Thanks for asking. Without a word, she hugged me tightly, her rings and studs pressing into my chest. But I didn't mind. We broke apart when Yin appeared at the door, smiling as she walked me to my office. When Red arrived, I asked him to gather everyone. We needed a war council once everyone was in my office. I shared my plan. Guys, I've made a decision. With some help from my dad, I'm seeing a lawyer today to start the divorce. I'll have the papers served at Sophia's office during lunch, hoping to catch her in one of her little trysts. Then I'll call her and tell her I've been watching everything. I'll give her a choice, me or her lovers. If she chooses me, she must do 3 things: file a XUAL maltreatment suit against her supervisors, resign from her job and explain why she did this. If she agrees, I'll pause the divorce and see if we can work things out, though I'm not sure we can. If she refuses, I'll email videos of her actions to everyone at her company and send the videos to the wives of her supervisors. I know it's vindictive, but I need them to feel some of my pain now. I need all the spy equipment removed from here in my house. Pack up everything related to Sophia separately for Adriana to hold. Red, can you help with the emails? If it comes to that, already done. Boss, it'll be unraceable. Just press a button. Thanks. Red, let us keep it simple. I hope I don't have to use it. Red then added, I found out more. Sophia started this with her boss, Derek Paxton, after he mentioned a promotion. It looks like it began last October, and over time other managers joined in, each getting a spot on her lunch schedule. She's not involved with anyone else, just these 4. I've copied everything to your computer also. She spent a quiet weekend at home. No activity with anyone else. Thanks, Red, I said, processing the information. I appreciate all of you for being there for me. They smiled at me and I smiled back. Let's get busy. I want the landmass audit on my desk by 500. I'm heading home this afternoon to get some things. So someone needs to keep an eye on Sophia and call me if she leaves. Mandy and Adriana both spoke up at once. No, Mandy continued. You're staying in our guest room. I've already changed the sheets. Once you get what you need from your house, you'll stay with us. No arguments. I knew better than to argue. All right. I'll call when I'm done. The meeting ended and everyone got to work. Red stayed at his computer, setting up the email blast, while Yen and Jackie dismantled and packed up the equipment, needing only the telescope and monitor for when things would escalate. Mandy and Adriana gathered the landmass paperwork and became clear we wouldn't be able to save landmass from a financial mess. I scheduled an appointment with a divorce attorney for that afternoon at lunchtime. Adriana handed me my phone in Yen's office. I avoided the telescope monitor. I'd seen enough. Alex, call Sophia. We need to see if she reacts the same way as last time, Adriana said. Reluctantly, I called her office. Sophia answered, sounding out of breath, my mind filled with painful images. After we hung up, Adriana confirmed they got the video they needed. Monday and Tuesday nights I stayed late at work to avoid Sophia. Wednesday at 12:15 p.m. everything was set to unfold. I prepared the final report for landmass but left it on my desk until I finished my personal matters. Red informed me he could remotely unlock Sophia's office door using their building's electronic lock system. He was pleased with himself, smiling more than usual. Wednesday morning was quiet and tense. We had breakfast together and then returned to my office at landmass. At noon, Sophia's lover Derek arrived. We watched as they talked and began their affair. I grew anxious, worried the process server might be late. Suddenly the lovers panicked and scrambled to dress as a man in a suit entered the office. He handed Sophia a large envelope and left. Sophia sat down stunned while Derek looked confused. When she opened the envelope, papers and photos spilled out. One photo showed her flipping off the phone and another captured her in a compromising position with an older man. Sophia rushed to the window, her face filled with terror, as she looked toward our building. Realizing she was caught, I called her office. She hesitated before answering with a trembling voice, "Tell Derek to leave." I ordered. Sophia collapsed in her chair before telling Derek to go. When he resisted, she shouted at him to leave, warning him that I knew everything. After Derek left, Sophia turned to face the window. "Sophia, listen carefully. I said you have one chance to fix this. First, quit your job. Second, file a sexual maltreatment lawsuit against your lovers in Enterprise. Third, explain to me why you did this. You have 5 minutes to start with the first step." I heard her sobbing. I hovered over the enter key ready to send the videos to everyone at Enterprise. If she didn't comply, I waited, giving her time to respond. The first words I heard on the phone were, "But, Alex, I've got a lot invested in Enterprise. I'm going to be." I pressed enter and hung up. "Okay, everyone," I said, "let on. Pack up the rest of the equipment and head home. Take the rest of the day off. I have a meeting with Lassa to deliver the bad news. See you all back at the office tomorrow." I glanced at the telescope display and saw Sophia screaming on her office window. Red mercifully turned off the monitor, but I couldn't stop staring at the blank screen before I could react. My entire team, my expert accountants, computer geeks and closest friends came over and embraced me. Even R. They understood what had just happened and shared in my sadness. In that moment I felt more love and compassion than before. With them by my side, I knew I could get through anything. I let my emotions go and allowed the tears to fall. For the past year my life has been a mess and it's all my fault. I ruined my marriage, my career and my sanity. There's no getting any of it back, but I'm determined to try. A year ago, while I was with my boss, a man walked into my office. I thought the door was locked. Derek and I scrambled to dress, as the man smirked and handed me an envelope. "Now, you're served," he said. That was the moment everything fell apart. Since then, I've been living in a fog, haunted by the past and lost in the present. Only recently, with therapy, have I started to understand what went wrong. Now I need to revisit every painful detail to rebuild my life. As the flight attendant droned on with instructions, I tuned out. focused on sorting through my thoughts before landing. Where did it all begin? My therapist says it started in childhood, but I'm focused on the events that led to cheating on my husband. It was a cloudy Friday in October. My supervisor, Derek Paxton, called me into his office before lunch. He smiled and asked me to close the door. After working under him for 8 years, I was surprised when he told me I was his top choice to replace Leonard Street John, who was retiring as logistics supervisor. Excited, I asked what I could do to prove I was the best choice. Derek suggested discussing it over lunch at a fancy Boston restaurant. The following Wednesday at lunch, Derek had wine ready and asked me about my life, dreams and ambitions. Then he leaned in and asked, "What are you willing to do for my recommendation?" "I work hard," I replied, trying to keep things professional. But Derek hinted at something more. Back in my office, I realized he was implying Z. I spent the weekend wrestling with the idea, weighing the pros and cons. But by Monday I convinced myself I could separate work and personal life. At lunch I asked Derek directly, "Did you mean ZX by anything?" Derek grinned and confirmed it. But I set conditions only at work during lunch. No one else would know and it would end. When I said so, Derek agreed, and that's how it started. Our first time together wasn't memorable. Derek and I were nervous, fumbling through it. Afterward, I cried for the first time since getting married. But I convinced myself it was for the greater good, advancing my career. I rationalized it by pretending my marriage was in trouble, a mind game, to ease my guilt. Over time our meetings became routine. One time Alex called while Derek and I were together. I hurried through the conversation and flipped off the phone afterward, lying to Derek that Alex and I weren't getting along. Then Leonard found out. He threatened to expose our affair unless he could join our meetings. With no choice, I complied. Now I had to office lovers. Later I learned that Leonard had no real evidence. But by then it was too late. He had manipulated me into it. In January, Leonard brought another manager, Nathan, into the mix, and they both took turns. Now I had 3 lovers by Monday. I dreaded the week ahead, especially Tuesday. But when Nathan arrived, I realized I wanted him more than expected. Afterward, guilt overwhelmed me and I couldn't look him in the eye. "Did I hurt you?" Nathan asked. Concerned, I forced a smile, saying no, "I'm okay," though tears welled up. Wednesday it was Derek and Thursday Leonard. I began to wonder if they were comparing notes. Then, one Friday, all 3 showed up together and I entertained them simultaneously. The only manager not involved was Gabriel Loretta, but that changed when he came by on a Monday expecting the same. Now I had 4 lovers. That evening, Alex messaged me, saying he was going to his father's for the weekend. I didn't think much of it. Made dinner, watched TV and realized how much I missed him. Without Alex, it felt like a piece of my heart was missing. Before bed I took a bubble bath and fantasized about Alex. On Wednesday, my world crumbled. Derek and I just started our status meeting when a man in a cheap suit walked in. "I locked the door," I exclaimed, as we scrambled to dress. The man smirked, standing by my desk. "What do you want?" I demanded. "Are you Sophia Hughes?" "Yes," calmly. "Yes. That's my name." "Who are you?" He handed me a manila envelope. After a moment, I took it. "Madam, you're served," he said and left. I collapsed, trembling as I opened the envelope. A divorce petition was on top, to stun and to speak. I tried to grasp what was happening. Derek asked what it was, but I didn't respond. I saw photos of me with Leonard and the reality hit hard. "How did he get these?" I muttered, staring out the window across the street. Another building loomed and I realized the photos were taken from there. Panic set in as I pressed my hands against the glass. The phone rang. I knew who it was. Slowly I answered. Trembling, "Tell Derek to leave." Alex growled. "Derek, go away." I whispered, "It's my husband." Derek hesitated, but I snapped, "Just go. He knows everything." After Derek left, I waited for Alex to speak. "Sophia." His voice was cold. "You have one chance to save everything. Understand?" "Yes," I sobbed. "Quit your job. File sexual maltreatment suits and explain why you have 5 minutes to start." I hesitated. But Alex, I've invested so much in Enterprise. I'm about to be the first female manager. But the line was dead. Desperate, I screamed at the window, realizing I destroyed everything Alex knew and he was divorcing me. What have I done? I wailed. A knock interrupted my breakdown. Leonard stood there, glaring the whole office watching you. Filthy liar, he spat before slapping me hard, knocking me down. Nathan and Derek quickly dragged him out. A coworker sneered. Now I'm sure, to get the promotion everyone knew. All I understood was Alex was leaving me. I tried calling him repeatedly, but he never answered. Then I saw an email hoping it was Alex. I opened. It was a video of me with Derek, horrified. I watched as it ended with Porky Pig saying, "That's all, folks." I collapsed, sobbing. Security came in, giving me an hour to pack in my termination letter. Through tears, I packed my things, realizing 9 years of work at Enterprise vanished. I'd messed up, not just at work, but with Alex too. I rushed home hoping to talk tomorrow, but he was gone, leaving a note. "Sophia, don't contact me. Call my lawyer. Sign the divorce papers and let's end this quickly. You've done enough damage." Alex devastated. I cried for days. The divorce papers cited irreconcilable differences instead of infidelity. A week after leaving Enterprise, a lawyer contacted me about a sexual maltreatment suit against the company. Somehow he had all the evidence and I suspected Alex was behind it. We settled for 10.0. Enterprise fired 3 managers and Leonard retired. Afterward I called Alex's lawyer asking when we could talk. His response was cold. "Why did you flip off the phone?" I called again, but each time he asked the same question until I gave up. A month later I called my cousin in Cincinnati. She invited me to move in with her. After a week of thinking, I signed the divorce papers, packed and left most of my belongings for Alex. I left a note asking him to call me, but he never did. In Cincinnati I spiraled into depression and even attempted to end my life. My cousin found me and called paramedics in the hospital. I started therapy, slowly coming to terms with my actions. I realized I didn't want to die. I wanted to live and maybe get Alex back. My therapist helped me create a plan to understand why I did what I didn't, rebuild my life. Though he warned getting Alex back might not be possible. For months after leaving Boston, I received the final divorce papers. The settlement gave me 10.0, but no alimony or part of Alex's business. We agreed to sell the house and split the profits. After 2 months of therapy, I felt like I was still standing in the ruins of my old life. As I flew back to Boston, I replayed everything in my mind, knowing I'd made huge mistakes, but also recognizing how far I'd come in understanding them. I hoped Alex would listen to my story, though I knew it was unlikely. The plane ride felt endless as we neared landing. I kept hoping for a different outcome, but knew I had to face reality. The captain announced our descent, waking me from a brief nap. I realized I'd been crying. A woman beside me handed me a tissue and gently said, "Whatever troubles we have, God watches over us. Just talk to him." As the plane landed, I reflected on everything again. I had hoped to find clarity, but nothing had changed. I'm a liar, a cheat, and I've ruined lives, all because I wanted to be important. Now I'm nobody. My name is Sophia Smith. Again after the divorce, losing my married name hurt more than anything. I didn't want alimony, the condo or savings. I just wanted Alex, but that wasn't possible. I rented a car and drove toward Waltham, where my old home was. The drive took 25 minutes, but once I arrived I couldn't move. I sat in the car too scared to face what I'd come all this way for. I rehearsed how to greet Alex settling on. "Hi Alex, I'm here to apologize. Can we talk?" I took a deep breath and approached the door. Everything looked the same, except the ale as I'd planted were gone. I rang the doorbell and waited nervously. A tall man answered yes. He asked, puzzled. This wasn't Alex. Was Alex? I blurted out, heart sinking. Another man, headier and also in a robe, joined him. "Can we help you?" "I'm looking for Alex Hughes. Mr. Hughes moved 6 months ago." The second man replied, "We moved in after the new year." I stood there speechless. Finally, I said I'm his wife. Well, I used to be. I came to talk. The men exchanged awkward looks. We heard about you. One said, apologizing. They kindly offered to let me in for coffee, but I declined, asking if they knew Alex's new address. They didn't. I thanked them and walked back to my car, another tear falling. I drove off, unsure where to go. I ended up at a small restaurant Alex and I used to visit. As I drank coffee, I thought about finding Alex at his office. I hurriedly finished my coffee and headed downtown, feeling anxious as I passed my old workplace. The last time I was there at the legal meetings for my sexual maltreatment case, a memory filled with pain and regret. I parked near Alex's office and entered the building. The security guard at the front desk gave me a look of mild recognition. I don't think he's here, the guard said, but you can check. Alex's office door was locked and the lights were off. This happened when I was in the first or second year of junior high school. I think I was about 13 years old. I grew up in the countryside. Now read Hughes and Associates instead of in Hughes. CPA. I wondered what that meant. Back in the car, I debated my next move. I decided to contact one of Alex's employees, Mandy, who I still had as his emergency contact. I entered her address into the GPS and drove off, hoping she might help. When I arrived, a young girl in a soccer uniform answered the door and called for her mom. After a wait, Mandy appeared, her eyes full of anger. "What do you want?" she asked coldly. I took a deep breath. "I'm looking for Alex. I came to apologize and talk to him. Do you have his address?" Mandy's eyes flared with anger. "Yes, but I'd never give it to you. You've caused enough pain. Mars moved on and you're just a bad memory. Now leave." She slammed the door in my face. All hope vanished. As I drove away, sobbing uncontrollably, I had to pull into a fast food parking lot to calm down. A concerned older man eventually tapped on my window, asking if I was okay. I managed to reply that I'd be fine, though I wasn't sure if I believed it. Thinking of Alex's father, I decided to drive to his house. But when I arrived, there was a for sale sign on the lawn. The house was empty. Desperate, I approached a neighbor who informed me Alex's father had passed away 3 months ago. Feeling defeated, I drove to the cemetery where Alex's father was buried. I found a fresh inscription on his headstone and a basket of flowers from Alex and his sister. A forest card was attached, so I decided to stop by the shop, thinking it might be my last chance to find Alex at the forest. A young man politely told me they couldn't give out customer information. Desperate, I offered him a $1 bill. He hesitated but eventually wrote down Alex's address, asking me not to mention where I got it. I followed the GPS to a pretty white bungalow. The mailbox confirmed it was Alex's place, but no one was home. I decided to wait, sitting on the porch. As I wandered around the house, I saw traces of Alex everywhere, plants from our old home, a sundial with his favorite quote. But this was life now, not ours. I walked to a nearby park and sat at a turtle-shaped table, thinking about the life we once planned but would never have overwhelmed. I broke down in tears, feeling that life without Alex wasn't worth living. Suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to see Alex standing behind me, his hand gently resting on my shoulder. I jumped up, sobbing and repeating his name, telling him how much I missed and loved him. He held me as I cried, but nearby Mandy, Adriana and another woman watched with icy expressions. "Hi Sophia, hi Sophia," Alex said quietly. "Would you like to come in?" I clung to him and he gently led me back to the house. Inside, he suggested I freshen up in the bathroom. While I washed my face and tried to regain my composure. When I came out, Alex was waiting. "Let on. Go out onto the deck," he said softly. "We need to have that talk." As we passed through the kitchen, the women were busy preparing food, watching us in silence. We sat on the deck and for what felt like an eternity, neither of us spoke. Finally, Alex broke the silence. "How have you been, Sophia?" "I'm better now." "Alex, how about you?" I replied, trying to steady my voice. "Good. But I don't think you came here for small talk. Tell me what's been going on since everything fell apart." I took a deep breath and began. "Alex, I'm not sure how much you know, so I'll tell you everything. The sexual maltreatment case against Enterprise settled out of court and I used the money to start over in Cincinnati. I've been working for a software company. It's a good job. I paused, but Alex stayed silent, listening. I've been seeing a psychologist since I left Boston. I continued. He's helped me understand that everything that happened was my fault. You did nothing to deserve this. I'm to blame. I struggled to keep my composure. I know I've apologized before, but I mean it now more than ever. I'm so sorry, Alex, for everything. I fought back, tears and pushed on. I was a mess. After you found out, I even tried to end my life once. But my therapist helped me realize it was a desperate act not meant to hurt you further. Alex shook his head. His eyes filled with emotion. My therapist helped me see that my low self-esteem led me to make terrible decisions. I thought sleeping with Derek would guarantee a promotion, but I later learned I was already recommended. It spiraled out of control and I made horrible choices. Alex shifted in his chair but didn't speak. I'm not making excuses. I wasn't coerced. I did it willingly. And when you sent that email, I realized how deeply I'd hurt you. I would have accepted any punishment if you just listened to my apology. I paused, trying to gather my thoughts. I destroyed the lives of those men and their families, just like I destroyed ours. All because I wanted that job. I took a breath. The lies I told you were hateful, and for that I'm deeply sorry. I hope you can someday trust me again. But I'll understand if you can't. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself before I start crying again. I need you to know something. The sex I had with those men, nothing compared to one night in your arms. With them it was just sex. But with you it was love. 3 of them used me. 1 was kind. But none of it compared to being with you. Tears streamed down my face as I looked at Alex. I never told them I held them. I only said that to you and I always meant it. The past year has been hell without you. I'll do anything to make things right. Whatever it takes. Just let me back into your life, please. Alex, I love you. I broke down, unable to continue. Alex sat quietly, giving me time to regain control. I'm sorry. I whispered I wasn't going to cry. Alex, I'm sorry about your father. He was a great man and I paid my respects at his grave. That's how I found where you live. If you can, please forgive me. If there's any feeling left for me, please let me come back. I want to be with you again. I love you. I covered my face with my hands, letting the tears flow the whole time. Alex listened without saying a word. I couldn't look him in the eye, unsure of what he was thinking. Just then Adriana appeared at the door. Excuse me. Dinner's ready if you want to eat. Alex looked at me. Gently. Do you want to take a break? We can get something to eat. I'd like to clean up first, I said, wiping a tear. Alex led me to the bathroom and after freshening up, we headed to the dining room. 5 people were now at the table, all watching me with a mix of curiosity and judgment. Dinner was awkward and silent. The food tasted like cardboard, as I nervously forced down a few bites. Alex sat across from me, his expression unreadable. After dinner, the tension returned. Mandy and Audriana cornered me by the fridge. Mandy glared at me. I want you gone as soon as you're done. If you hate him, I'll make sure you regret it. Adriana added, if he sheds a tear because of you, I'll find you and make you pay. He's moved on, so leave him alone. The others stood by watching. I felt trapped but knew I had to stay, for Alex returned rescuing me. Sophia Leon, finish our talk outside, he said calmly. I followed him, relieved to escape the hostility. We sat back on the deck. Sophia, I appreciate your honesty today. Alex began. I sense a change in you, but I need an honest answer to a question. Then we can talk about us. I braced myself knowing it would be tough. Okay, I whispered. Alex looks directly at me. Why did you give me the finger after our call, when you were with those guys? I knew this question was coming. Alex, I've done lots of stupid things, but that was the worst. I convinced myself and the man I was with that you were a bad husband to justify my actions. It was all a lie. I'm sorry you ever saw it. Alex nodded slowly. I believe you're being honest, but that act of disrespect hurt more than anything else. It made getting past what you did impossible. His words crushed me. Is that why you wouldn't talk to me? I asked softly. Partly Alex admitted I was so angry I didn't want to hurt either of us more. It took my friends a long time to get me to this point. We both took a moment to breathe. Okay, Sophia, Alex said. Finally, I'll give you the short version of my life over the last year. I listened closely as he began to share his side of the story. When I hit send on those emails with the videos of you and your lovers, I was furious, angrier than I'd ever been. I felt like I could eliminate someone. Even you, he said bluntly. On the outside I seemed calm, but inside I was a volcano. I wanted to hurt you, to destroy everything you cared about, including me. He paused, looking down at his hands. I wanted you to feel the same pain I did. Sending those emails to your supervisors I was my way of getting back at the men who took you from me and helped ruin our marriage. I blamed you, but I blamed them too. Everyone paid for it, including me. Alex sighed. After that I got threatening calls and emails, some from your co-workers and friends of those men. I tried apologizing to their wives, but they were too hurt to listen. One even spit in my face. Still, they used the footage in their divorce cases. He looked at me, pain in his eyes. I stayed at my dad's for a while, trying to get my head straight. He helped me calm down, but eventually I had to deal with things on my own. By the time I got back, you were gone. I didn't try to find you or call. I was glad you were gone, even though it left a huge hole in me. His voice softened. I cried for days until my friends staged an intervention. Mandy and Adriana practically mothered me, and Yin made sure I ate, exercised, and kept my work in order. Even Jackie tried to get me out of my comfort zone. Red brought over DVDs and beer, and we had a guy weekend. It was cathartic. After 3 months of self-pity, I finally started living again. Alex took a deep breath. I sold our condo after you signed the divorce papers. It took a while, but by then I was already living here. Moving here was a fresh start, something I desperately needed. When I got the final divorce notice, I almost slipped back into depression. But Jin helped me stay on track. He paused, then added, "Oh, and I should tell you your video ended up on an amateur site. Red found it, but I didn't post it. I'm sorry. It got out. I'll give you the URL." Alex sighed again, his expression resolute. "I put your share of the condo sale to .0 in the bank. I'll write you a check tonight. I didn't send it before because I didn't want to face you." He looked me in the eye. "Now you ask me to forgive you. Sure, I forgive you. Not for your sake, but for mine. I can't carry that hate anymore. But I don't love you anymore either." His words hit hard. "Forgiving you doesn't mean forgetting," he said softly. "What I saw in those videos destroyed every good memory. We had our hopes, dreams, everything gone. I've let go of the hate, but I'm also done with love. I'm moving on, Cheryl. And there won't be a Mrs. Alex Hughes with your name." I sat there, devastated, sobbing quietly. My life felt over. Alex handed me tissues and left me alone. When I looked up, I saw him in the kitchen, surrounded by his friends. The young Asian woman leaned her head on his shoulder, and I finally understood he had moved on. I cried until it grew dark, then composed myself enough to head out in the living room. Alex handed me an envelope with my share of the condo sale and the video's URL on the back. Just like that, it was over. My hopes of getting him back were gone, along with the last bit of my self-respect. I had to start over without him. Alex walked me to my car. I held his hand one last time, whispered goodbye, and kissed his cheek. As I opened the car door, I hesitated, then turned to look back. What I saw shattered me. Alex stood with his arm around the young woman's waist, and his friends were behind him, each flipping me off. The message was, "Screw off now." I truly understood Alex's pain. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.